Well, the NASCAR Xfinity Series are ready to get their playoffs underway this weekend. Glad to have you here on the Inside Lane on Sports 360 AZ. I'm your host, Devon Henry, and joining us today on the Inside Lane, he is a four-time winner in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the fifth seed in this year's Xfinity Playoffs, and the most recent Xfinity Series winner at Phoenix Raceway. Driver of the Joe Gibbs Racing number 19 Toyota Supra from Atlanta, Georgia, it's Brandon Jones.
Man,
Brandon, thanks for joining me, man.
That's about the best I've had all day as introductions go, so you take the cake on that.
That's all I asked for. We can end the interview now. That's all I want on a media day. I think we're good now.
Good to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Oh, dude, it's a pleasure to have you. You've been doing absolutely phenomenal this year. I want to get to your season here in a second, but we have seen some very creative Zoom areas, if you will, with obviously the backdrops and stuff. So right now, where are you hiding, like in your house or wherever, to fit this backdrop and have the lights and everything all good to go? We've seen some creative studios, if you will.
I wish I could show my setup here. I don't know if it's as good as what other people have, but we definitely have rigged it up to where it looks pretty professional right now. So I'm just gonna leave it as it's good as it can get.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's perfect. As long as it works, right? That's all that matters. Well, you know, it's been a pretty up and down year for you. You've had some pretty drastic lows, those 4 straight DNFs earlier in the year, but you have had some incredibly just impressive highs with 3 huge wins, including here at Phoenix, beating Kyle Busch for the victory, phenomenal restart earlier at Kansas this year, and also, of course, just winning at Darlington in what was a fantastic finish. But when you look at this year with your 3 victories, how does this year kind of compare to last year? What has made the biggest difference for you to find victory lane?
Yeah, we've just closed these races out this year, honestly. We've done a really good job at starting out strong and ending really strong and making sure that we're not in those bad positions that, you know, possibly we would have been in throughout the past years. And it's all about making a big notebook throughout your career in this sport. It's all about learning from your mistakes and learning from the good stuff too. You know, I feel like even after a win, you can get out and say, man, I could have done this a little bit better. I could have done that. And I probably could have drove away from the field the whole day. So there's always that constant thing in the back of your head trying to, you know, tell you to get a little bit better. How can we push? How can we make this even better day than it was? And that's one thing that also comes with the bad times. You know, you have to put that stuff out of your head and first off, look and say, okay, we could have done this to prevent it, or, you know, hey man, there was nothing we could have done. You know, that was, you know, strictly somebody else's deal, and you were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So there's 2 sides of it all the time, and if you can put behind the stuff that you can't control, then you know, you're gonna do really well that next week, and you're gonna continue to push and get to victory lane. And I feel like that's where you've seen us really strong this year. You know, we've had some DNFs, we've had some bad finishes, and a perfect example is I go from winning a truck race in Pocono to the first lap we're out in the Xfinity race, and it's just part of the sport. You know, it's part of it sometimes. And we got out and just shook our heads and said next week's gonna be our week. You know, so we're doing a really good job at that. My whole team is really good at that. You know, okay, that wasn't what we wanted, but next week's gonna be what we want. So that's where we're gonna be really strong this year, is continuing to do that.
Well, I mentioned that win at Phoenix back in March, and I had the opportunity to talk with you in victory lane after the win. I said it then, I'll say it again. People do not pass Kyle Busch at Phoenix in crunch time. Obviously, that took a tremendous amount of skill and a tremendous amount of patience as well to catch up and pass Kyle Busch under green to take the victory. What can you take from that win back in March? And if you have the opportunity to race for a championship on November 7th in the Desert Diamond 200, what can you kind of take from that and put it into this championship race potentially?
Yeah, what was so great about, you know, before the shutdown, we had everything normal. We had practice, we had qualifying. And so, you know, after those sessions, you're going and looking at the best cars and seeing their strong suits, and you're seeing their weak suits, and we have, you know, amazing tools that allow us to do that. We now have a version of the S&T what the Cup guys are able to use, and we go back and watch practice over and all that stuff, and I was able to pick up on the things that was allowing him to be fast, but it was allowing him to be consistent. And I remembered that throughout the race, you know. So I think that's where our late race speed kind of came in, was okay, I know he's driving in too deep, at times, and I know that's going to kill the front tires, and he knows that kind of stuff too. I mean, that's not something that's not crossing his mind, but at the same time, you just kind of have to think about those things. That's this being a smart racer, I feel like, and being prepared for anything. And we're always really good at that late race charge because of the simple fact that I mentioned. I'm not one that's probably going to kill the front tires or the rear tires early on in the run. And I think that's where I need to find a balance. I need to find how to get that short run speed a little bit better so that we can get the stage wins that we deserve and things like that. And so that's what's kind of going to close our whole race up a little bit.
And after your victory, probably the thing that impressed me most on the day is with Phoenix's victory lane. I mean, there's so many fans that can celebrate it, and I call them the mosh pits next to victory lane. And I mean, the fans just stack up in there. And you did not go to the media center until every single autograph was signed in victory lane. In your mind, how important is it for NASCAR to take these tracks and modernize them and make them so fan accessible like at Phoenix moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty incredible, man. I mean, that's something that makes us stand out, and I feel like that's what's also so cool about our sponsors. We have incredible sponsors behind us. We have Menards, we have Toyota this year that, before COVID, they're activating, they're bringing customers to the track, and that's something that I feel like, and I don't know if experience, but I feel like just from watching that, an NFL game or a basketball game or something, they just don't have that accessibility to the athlete, and NASCAR does. You can get that fan down to meet the driver and be right there, and it's in a way like a concert. I mean, you're right there at the stage with the musician and with the artist, and so that's something that's so cool about our sport, and that's what makes it. If we didn't have the fans, if we didn't have our sponsors, then well, what are we doing? We're entertainers. That's what we're trying to do, and is entertain our fan base. So that was definitely an awesome experience at Phoenix. So many people that you mentioned in there, and they didn't mean a lot to me. So we're going to stick around for as long as we can and get that done.
Now, you've been racing for a mighty long time. You've had a lot of help along the way, especially when you were younger. Now, your dad, JR, he has been a big part of remanufacturing company, formerly the president and the CEO. But how did you get your start in racing? Where do your racing roots come from exactly? How did you get into the sport?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not a family thing. I mean, he's involved with HVAC and not racing, but at the same time, as a family, we've always been car people. We've always loved coming to the NASCAR tracks, even as fans early on in my life, and that's kind of what got me triggered and got me started. Is I love cars. I loved anything that had wheels, and so when we went to our first race just as fans to watch, then I mean, I fell in love with it. That was something that looked so much fun, and growing up, I wanted to be the best at everything that I did. And the problem is I'm playing against my dad at these sports. I'm the only child. So, my friend was my parents, and I'm playing with him, and he's like the best at everything. He's best at golf. He's the best at basketball. And here I am, little, trying to beat him, and it's just not going to work. So I had that mindset of, I'm not doing this. I'm not playing that because I can't win. And at 13, I got into racing. And I'm racing against 40-year-olds, and we're winning. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something that age doesn't matter. So I got into it really honestly that way, and eventually we, as a family, just kind of progressed through the short track stuff. Had a lot of fun doing that, and then got to the ARCA level and won our ARCA races the very first time that we sat in one of those. And at the time, and they still are, Menards was sponsoring the series. And I think that's honestly what opened up the eyes to Menards on us a little bit, and helped that conversation get started there to now put us in full-time Xfinity cars, and to have that backing is really good.
Talking with Brandon Jones here, the Joe Gibbs Racing driver, the number 19 Toyota Supra on the inside lane. Obviously, media day is a very long day for you guys, so we got to get you rolling here onto your next opportunity to talk with a media member. But before I let you go, we got to do a segment I do with every driver. It's called Quick Time. I got some rapid fire questions for you, looking for some answers in return. You ready to set quick time, Brandon?
All right, let's rip it.
All righty, man. First and foremost, your favorite track to race at regardless of the car?
Oh, Bristol. Awesome racetrack to go to. So unique.
Bristol, baby. Why is that? What's your favorite part of the track?
Well, we all grew up short track racing, so it brings us back to that route. But at the same time, we're in big, heavy cars now. We're not in those late models that we all grew up in. So man, you beat and bang, you push on each other, and at the same time, you don't wreck when you do it. You know, you go to a mile and a half, you push on somebody, you're probably going to wreck. So it allows you to be aggressive and to make those moves, and it doesn't put the guy in front of you at a terrible position and allows you to race really hard that way.
Now, I mentioned earlier you about how close you are with the fans, especially at Phoenix Raceway after your victory, but do you have a favorite fan interaction that kind of comes to mind off the top of your head, or just something weird that you've signed over your years?
I've signed some prosthetic legs and arms before. That's probably at the top of my list of craziness. But I don't have, you know, big fan interactions. I love to see always who's following me. I think it's so intriguing to see that, you know, that there's people out there that care about how good we're doing, that you never met before. So it's always fun to see that fan base, to see how many people are following. I love to try to grow that social media page and try to get a lot of followers on there as well. And so cool to see that, like I said, you know, you don't know these people and they're watching you. They're checking you out every week. So that's really cool.
So I know that you love the outdoors, you go out fishing a lot, but who is the best fisher in the household? Because I've seen some social media posts that sometimes you come up short to someone else over there.
Absolutely. And here my issue is I'm a gear junkie, man. I love all the gear. And so sometimes that, you know, halts you a little bit. You know, you're sitting there messing with something that you don't know anything about. And you end up, you know, spending more time fixing it than you do having fun with it. And so sometimes the old trusty outbeats me every once in a while with my girlfriend in the house. So she does a good job of being very consistent at the outdoors, and normally pays off.
Last one for you here. If you have an opportunity to race for a championship in Phoenix on November 7th, what do you think will be the biggest obstacle or the biggest hurdle to overcome that weekend?
Man, I get to the last round. I feel like people are going to be looking and saying, "Oh gosh, you know, I remember what happened here last time." You know, I feel like the 19 is going to be really fast. But at the same time, I got my guys too that I look at and say they're going to be fast every time we go there. And Justin Allgaier is so good at Phoenix. You know, if he gets there, he's going to be a big contender. Those guys that are good at road courses, you know, that sometimes end up downshifting at that track are really good, but. If they continue to lay down the traction compound there and they continue to do that, it changes the track so much. And so I think it takes all that out of the equation that they get so good at, and you got to relearn something. And I've already figured it out this race. So, you know, I'm not intimidated by much if we get there.
Well, Brandon, I really appreciate your time. Obviously a very busy day and moving into the playoffs here starting this weekend at Las Vegas. Best of luck to you and hope to see you fight for a championship or maybe back in victory lane come November 7th in the Desert Diamond 200.
Sounds good to me, man. Thank you.
This is the Inside Lane on Sports 360 AZ. Keep it to Sports 360 AZ all October and November as well as we get ready for NASCAR Championship Weekend.